All right. Hi guys. This is IYRE back once again after quite some time, I would say. And apologies for the silence because I've been a little bit distracted. Obviously, with the situation that Sri Lanka is right now, with the protests um, and everything else that followed, it's been a little bit difficult to focus on music endeavors. But then again, I've been busy myself, been making music and trying to get something together for next year, which is obviously um, in the works as of now. I'm actually working on a few tunes right now, and there's a few tunes in the pipeline that is to be released towards the end of this year, which I'm very excited for, and hopefully in January as well. That being said, I did not do the commentaries for my Goldfat EP, my debut EP, which was Light of Hope, which is what I'm going to do today. I released it on 27th of May. It was a 5 tracker, which was quite challenging. But then again, I should thank Goldfat guys for letting me do a 5 tracker instead of a 4 tracker. Um, I had a bucket of tunes probably towards last year, which I was working on by then. About 11 tracks or so, and out of which I, together with Mike Kiss and Mr. Porter, we managed to cut it down to 5. I think we were able to finalize the best 5 tracks out of that whole bucket I was talking about, and yeah, really excited with the feedback I received so far. And obviously, this EP is very special for me since it's my debut EP in any label whatsoever. Been releasing 2 trackers previously, but then again, it was a really nice experience to release an EP. Um, and at the same time, the EP opened a few avenues for me as well as an artist. Obviously, me getting signed to songs in the Key of Night, which is kind of like the publishing arm of Hospital, was mainly due to what was portrayed through this EP. So I'm pretty thankful for that opportunity as well. But yeah, let's dive into the tracks, and basically I'll walk you through the creative process and how things came about. Hopefully I can do a breakdown pretty soon or later, but in terms of the resource requirement, I have pretty much maxed out on what I have on my computer. So it's a little bit difficult for me to screen grab things and record at the moment, but hopefully really soon I'm going to address that as well, maybe even hopefully to invest in another laptop, which would hopefully then I'll be able to start recording screen grabbing things for you guys like I did previously as well. So that's in the pipelines. But then again, we can talk about the tracks in the meantime, and see where we go with it. If I'm to um, speak about the creative process, it was very organic. I did not have a direction when I created that whole 11 bucket 11ish bucket of songs. I didn't have a particular direction uh, whatsoever. I was just making tunes based on what I was feeling at the time. But finally, when Light of Hope was being produced, which immediately was decided that it's going to make the EP, and I kind of looked at the whole texture that I've used on Light of Hope. It was very analog driven, but at the same time, um, it was a little bit techy in terms of the texture, and it was rolling much more than my previous tunes, and it kind of provided me this vision of pushing myself in terms of sound design and song structure and musicality, which I actually cashed upon, obviously with what you heard on the EP. So uh, then of course I was kind of able to create a certain direction in terms of what I wanted to achieve through this EP, to push myself as an artist, but at the same time stick to a few storylines that would help me to come up with a story, and possibly to experiment more in terms of sound design as well. And maybe we can move on to the title track, which is Light of Hope. So the Light of Hope was basically um, an instrumental initially, obviously, with me coming out with this instrumental. It had a different second drop. I was possibly focusing on replicating polyrhythmic riffs, like what you hear in metal music, in progressive metal subgenres like gent, with this whole new wave of bands coming together, and this whole gent scene coming into picture with 7-string guitars. I was trying to replicate some of the guitar riffs in a polyrhythmic pattern, but then again felt as if it was kind of stuttering the flow of the track, which might kids agreed upon too. So we decided to come up with a different second drop, and even in the second drop, there's guitars going on. There's a bass guitar, a corporeal bass guitar layered right beneath the mid layer. There's a lot of sound design going on, especially towards the mid range of the track. And the drums were made on Serum pretty much. A few samples had been layered below the Serum sound designs as well, but most prominently it was basically between Serum and working on samples. Apologies if you're hearing noises. I'm right next to a road, so you might hear vehicles going on here and there. So apologies for that. And after the instrumental came up, I contacted Mr. Porter and I asked him if it's possible for us to get a vocalist on board, because I felt as if there's ample space for a vocalist to play around and come up with something really unique. So he actually put a post on a Facebook group asking for musicians who are willing to work on a collaboration in the Croydon area, and Breezy had commented on it. So Mr. Board had got in touch with the Grant had got in touch with her, and the track was sent to her, and she came up with the most amazing set of vocals that I've ever heard. So she actually came up with three vocal takes, which are completely different to each other, slightly different to each other in terms of the structure and the content. And I ended up mix matching them together and established what would be the final outcome. We actually did a very extensive podcast on how Light of Hope came into picture. It's on my YouTube again. You can go check it out. It's a lengthy discussion with Breezy for about 45 odd minutes. We were completely talking about drum and bass and how Light of Hope came into picture, how what was the creative process, what was the intention behind the lyrics, so on and so forth. Everything is there, so you can go check it out. And that's basically how Light of Hope was born. And A Distant Memory would be the second track, which was pretty personal in terms of what I was trying to portray. It was basically a reflection in terms of certain memories that you would try to dwell yourself upon, and would try to relive those certain memories And there's a nostalgic feel into it as well, and there's extensive sound design. I think it's the most. I think that particular song has more sound design in terms of the whole EP. I pretty much redone everything on Serum and other samplers and resampling and granulizing everything. I'm really proud of the outcome as well. It was well received, and it was also featured on UK, which is amazing. And was pretty happy with the outcome of a decent memory. Um, Again, was contemplating about adding vocals, but then again felt as if it was strong enough to drive on its own with the instrumental version. And yeah, that's about it. And then came reverse apology, which was basically focused around a reverse sample that I came across on Splice. It was not reversed on Splice, but then again I reversed it and had a look in terms of how it sounded, and it sounded pretty neat. And immediately the bass line was on it, embedded on the reversed sample. So I just replicated it on the bass side of things as well. Again, the drums, so the kick drums on Serum. There's a Serum snare layer going on as well, and it gets pretty intense towards the second half of the song as well. I decided to kind of go nuts with the sample and see where we land, and it got a little bit orchestral and a little bit chaotic towards the second drop. Um, it sounded like an apology inside my head. So and obviously the sample is reversed, so decided to name it Reverse Apology, and Mr. Grant thinks it's the best name out of the lot, which I agree. It's a pretty creative name. And then came Calanthia, which is pretty different from the previous tracks. I kind of focused towards a song which is bass heavy and with deep and neuro influences, much more aggressive than the rest of the tunes together. And there was sound design, granulizing again was used for vocals and for bass as well. Most of the basses were made on Serum, and it was lengthier in terms of the duration of the track. It was pretty lengthy. I think it was around 6 minutes or so, but then managed to cut it down to 5.5 or 5:15 also. So that's basically the creative process behind Calanthia. Um, and then of course the the f- the track that I produced at the end, which was Retired Replicant. Again, was inspired to go in a different direction towards the deep and the minimalistic aspects of techie drum and bass. I would say I was kind of trying to get the tune rolling a little bit more aggressive, and the sound design was pretty much revolving around the overall texture that I was carrying out throughout the EP. There was a lot of influence from analog inspired sound design, um, and I think I managed to capture the essence of Blade Runner, movies such as Blade Runner, the sci-fi sounds of movies such as Blade Runner and Star Wars, I would say, or I don't know, any sci-fi movie that you like. Oblivion, I was kind of trying to replicate that mystery behind the analog sounds, and to add a little bit of my own twist in them, and that's basically where that whole intention and the direction carried us through. and the stories started writing itself. I didn't necessarily have to create something on inside my head like I did with my previous releases. And initially I had help with getting some sort of a direction by the Goldfat guys as well. They gave me a certain a few guidelines or a few pointers that I should say that I need to incorporate into the songs, which kind of gave me an idea in terms of where I need to drive. And I'm really happy and proud with the output that was catered. So it was a very lengthy process. I would say I was working on the EP for almost an year. It was a very painstaking effort. I would say a lot of rewritten rewrites, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of research in terms of sound design, and a lot of inspiration from movies, especially, and TV series. And I think I rewatched Blade Runner for almost 5 to 6 times, just so that I can capture that whole atmospheric um, ecosystem on and onto the EP. And in terms of naming the tracks, also I kind of got bit of inspiration from Blade Runner. Retired Replicant is straightly from Blade Runner, which means if you have watched the movie, you would see that there are replicants who are being used for used for police work. And whenever a newer version of the model is introduced, they go and retire or they kill the previous replicants, which is the which is basically the idea behind the track, the chase of going behind a replicant and catching him and eliminating him or whatever. And Calanthea is also from Blade Runner Low. Calanthea is a colony, an abandoned colony on the Blade Runner Row. So that was actually suggested by Might Kiss. And it was named as the Third Wave as a working title, but then again everybody agreed that it should be renamed, and I was actually thinking about good names as well, but then again Mike is hit me up and said, look, there's retired replicant, so why don't we name this as Calanthea, which is obviously again from the Blade Runner Row, and it made perfect sense to name Third Wave Calanthea, so we decided to stick with Calanthea. And 4 out of the 5 tracks got premieres on various channels as well. We got a Drum&Bassarena feature, a UK feature, Basilisk bass feature, and a Skank and bass feature as well, which is amazing. And I'm really proud of the effort that I put onto the EP, and props to Mike Keys and Mr. Porter for helping me to come up with the best version of myself in this EP for so long. We've been working on it for almost 7 to 8 months. First coming up with a bunch of tracks and then cutting them down and agreeing on a few tracks and then pushing forward, coming out with a promo plan. Worked quite hard towards getting the promo as well. We were in touch with various promo blogs, YouTube premieres, so and so forth. We were actually putting a lot of effort on getting word out about this EP. Got a Rolling Stone feature as well. Best Drum and Bass did a write up, did a review on the EP, which was well received, and I was pleasantly surprised and happy that he had so many nice things to say about the EP. So I'm really thankful and grateful for this opportunity, and to release music with Goldfat. Obviously, I mean, I'm blessed beyond words to be able to release music on a label like Goldfat, and hopefully planning to revisit them again very soon. Working on a few tracks at the moment. There's a few things in the pipeline which I'm not supposed to talk about right now, which I'm very excited about as well. So we'll see what happens in the next few months. So that's it from me, guys, and hopefully apologies for taking this much of time, and hopefully I'll do another podcast with Pixies and Sydney. Since we released a two-tracker on Pilot, a collaboration EP between myself and Pixies, and we had Sydney coming on for vocals for one of the tunes, which is called Psychedelics. We did a music video as well, my first ever music video, not my per se, but collectively we came up with this brilliant idea, and Sydney, along with Billy Bones Productions, put together a very amazing music video, which you can check it out on UK Drum and Bass. And I'm really thankful again for all these opportunities, me being from Sri Lanka and getting to experience all these amazing things in the drum and bass scene. And I'm thankful for the drum and bass community for listening to what I make, which is still kind of hard to swallow. Didn't think that people would actually dig what I make, and I'm so thankful, and hopefully we'll meet up very soon with another podcast. Thank you so much.